in the country, and now, of course, on her official duties now. Vice President, did they be ye? Mami wabeka yensa. Asofwa shenkom. Asofwa na mukasa kasa hon. Obisi mi shenkom na anono. Obisi na mi yese. Entro enada akoshifo enabrabafo. Wenyankopon edi Vice President na Professor Gina no Pukwajiman wabeka yensa kyerɛ sɛ enei said the water dumping phobiase enemane adeade omampini no asoe ho ne adeade ne Ghana fo ina sɛ ampa onyankopon edi na afofie de naba minim sɛ Ghana de na uhwe mu am about 99% of Ghanaians ina ne ye bompa sɛ ye ma me Professor Gina no Pukwajiman oba beka Ghana ye nsana neoma aide akoye. Take a listen to Ebra or dumping for ase shortly after say Obibidru Ghana. Listen to this.
I want to say thanks to God. His mercies have been infinite, as always, and I'm very grateful. I express gratitude to the medical staff too, for seeing the right thing, for making the right proposals. And to my boss, that day, I don't know where you appeared from, but he came and quickly set in motion what we needed to do. And I also want to thank all of you, your prayers, for your good wishes. I can't be thankful enough. I'm very grateful. But I need to isolate beyond family and friends your brother, Mr. Ibrahim. He stopped at nothing to ensure that I had what I needed. And then he also came to the hospital. He came to sit by me, and that was healing by itself. So, my little boss, I'm very, very grateful. So I'm very happy to be back. And there's so much that has happened that we all need to do. And I know that with our collective will, we'll do much more for our country.
Great. So, Vice President, Professor Jenano Pukwajiman wabeka yensama. Ibia ya kama inti. Empire bia no bi bo se dienyo. Se be ya nasem no bebe mu se denyo. Oman ba ko amo yempa de pa. Nipa nie. Eyo only boni pe o. Only nyoma sinful things pe. Ena we glorify. And nyoma ye boni ebesi. Na yakana ne ho yehu. Ade a just a bad news bad news. NAC and on no kai and on no yes and ade. You see nipa ben ye. Just see empem to whom at Ghana dear. Ye rade. Also for ben obey me. So for be any Ghana. Some will be deliver whom at Ghana so no. More politicians here. Frakadam for unkwa. Akrom for criminals and thieves. As of one as a habai. Don't want politicians and bear 10% to be din pom wasem. As of one also the 99. Well, yesterday in the afternoon, Bernard Ntribuesiakon, popularly known as Wontumi, was rearrested and detained at the office of EOCO. Enra. Papaya Kosia di ho kudini nkomo di bibia tutuna adetana kwem. Komodeni na kukoso fine bonibie ni na kwem. Bonibie ni na kwem around that time. Bonibie ni. Wodan ho yese wo kwa hey kakra ba na EOCO so EOCO so be jira say hey wo han ni hwe no hu say no Jack ade no Wontumi ampa. Enra na ohun say edin no na ense so wo fa say edin no. Woma Wontumi so share pick up him. Nanse Wontumi a ne se Wontumi a ampa ye de no koduru EOCO. Ye hwe de esi kokoba ba Rambo se men kan chese munyai ni dimpo. Sa Rambo star no o se munyai na mommo breye. take a lesson to Wontumi in the pickup.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The boss.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The boss.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The boss. Adaji ni pususa o. Debi obi antwen obi a o. Debi. Nti Rambo de. Rambo aye na dwuma wie. Ghana de ekoso na enye Rambo. No. Ena Wontumi nka se Jackie Chan ne hwanhwan. No. Ya ha na ya ha de na enye movie so. Aha de esi o Ghana no. Enye movie so. Is a real event o. Enye Rambo and enye Jackie Chan na enye hwanhwan. Real o, is real. Well, some party supporters yesterday night besieged the premises of EOCO. Said the about 70 years. You heard their course over. Take a lesson to this.
What is going on? What kind of life is that? What is this? What kind of life? We are going to.
Let me make this quick analysis easy. And then I'm Mrs. Tebi, Mrs. Owusu, Ghanaian based in London but currently in Ghana. Or share program. Mrs. Owusu, I want to say queer in himself here. I hope so much light and also. Now, uni my dear, share adia mami or no I saw na spotlight in a torn so I ye did or on near plus demonstrators so and I yenka supporters a co on near day. Me the minka supporter wa was supporting NDC and MPP menko by muni my dear. Show ebra ye che Wontumi no yembisa se Wontumi ma wo mo yedodo wo sen Wontumi sebe ne yerenom ye sen what I do know is say Wontumi yerenom wo mo ye sen mienu yes ah enra ne yerenom mienu no wo mu de hin na mu hu wo so mu lead demonstration and as wo mu lead the charging crowd no yerenom no wo mo hin fa sabe wo mo hin wo mo Ghana ha wo mo Kumasi ana wo mo Accra hin fa no mu ne yerenom no dodo sen na ba grounds honum asema de bia en ewie kura na me ne Mrs. Ozuye di sa nkomo na asema make na se onhwe enya sometimes Ghana for na your fault enya your fault no but winim this is how your politicians want you to be. Okay, the politicians of this our nation always and at all times would want to see say the citizenry are impoverished. The citizenry will not be wise. The citizenry will not wake up to what time is it. No. Our politicians all the time. Yeah. Because yeah. That's why it's so easy at all times. Adebiara ensese Ghana for kobo chenku hono. Wamom ho so hey MPP mumiatingu montenso na nya sa eje Wontumi ebro no tete radio station TV station all the den all brandish gold bars no mani ade no see yes a demonstration of power one day oho no one more MPP din o all demonstrating the power of what gold na what chiro said you what to me and he said you what sika obo udin ka ho wa mo udin anka ho ebra Wontumi demonstrate say Ghana han na sika fo no wono wodi mu akwete na sefo no obo udin ka ho wa mo udin ono ani party MPP kro wa mo mudin yeah But whom say ebra asamo to no ya hwehwe no a so tito wiem o kwayem esire mipo menuam ensuom a ye hwehwe na ye hunu de wokonya baby gina say Ghana for mumre o Ghana for ana wante MCA, do I have the tape there? Ebra all demonstrate say yeah or the NDC for ebeba number 5 or say a demonstration of power in about a few minute days after elections. Wontumi no team Ghana for MPP for mumno muntina yeyem say unsa feed now. He's calling for what? Your sympathy. But the question you should be asking, me the Ghana for me come and crachere mu. So what trust na ubi sa won say, hey, politician tibia wo komi ebra na wo enjoy na mimi gina he. Ehimfa na eya common knowledge say nyame na me ka kire wo. But then na ewie na me ka kire me sister say ekuye. Sa na obehunu o say politicians ne create adwuma ama Ghana for so omunya obeti akwagira street so wo demonstrate eno na kire how impoverished eno na kire how destitute eno na kire emobo a my Ghana ye because say ya chief politician were London, ya chief politician were Europe, Amsterdam, ya chief politician were Germany, Italy, and ya chief politician be America, Memu. And now global south, China, ya deni ko, ni nipa woman nya sorry say ya kwa demonstration wo. Hey, ne betinye simana ye debi, bin sida. Womu edwuma yo. No nya na edwuma yo medi wo politician echi. Ebra wo di sika na mudi sika no, edi bi di ma to talk cars. E dan nem ne ade no, wato bi ama. Onto bi ma, nti wo kogina ho den. Said and Rami Huya no Mugu EOCO headquarters way. Yes, you will nipa okwa hu hie mu a utumi ko eco solidarize with. Of course, why not? You will nipa ye hu wadamfo den utumi ko solidarize ukoma ne support. But nye ebra politics no mu ye no yama oposi bia ma osika ni bi ma weni o. Wo se masori ejame ma ho, obi ejane ma ho, obi ejane kunu, obi ejane yiro na wo ko ye ne de ade bo utiri mu prawa. And also now be a talking point ewo Ghana when the Bay and MPP NDC mubeja isa anyomawi she Wontumi o the Wontumi of yesterday and Wontumi of today nebisa say in the Wontumi of yesterday now woka ho bi. Listen to this.
Yeah, but the NDC for crowd that say 8 now say you know memo ma free wa 7 and now 6. I'm telling you to show the strength and the power.
A few moments later.
Minya Ghana need you. If you just say the one we never president in T. Minya Ghana need you. Ghana for Musorio. Ghana for Musorio. And before you know Musorio. And before you know Musorio. And you Munti and a Mahama MC. Be vice president to that. Me, my don't board to that. Me, my DCO da. Me, my minister da. Aya chairman in the media. And I want to make campaign in Mammy. I'm my campaign in my party. And I'm a year Juma 2013. We are Saba the boom, Juma. Boakye, my topping my Juma, my count to pa be Didio was one. Me, my count to club be Didio was no. Cemetery, my school fees and club higher thing. What I say, most of them won't start to my count to so, and you know, Nasabi, me, Sikabai, Sikabai, and the family.
Great. Enunye. Enti mi bisa se ukoye dede o hwa. Ne se me no me ka we dey protect wo Ghanaian no. Se we NDC ni se we MPP ni me emfa me ho. Because me catcher me non align o. But my point is that so be jai politicians mo ma drama a jai no mo drama. Unu bi na ye chi no a na wo kwa support na fair deal. But your politicians no me pese me cho se wo mo nwe hu peace a o. And was solidarize it. As of Enrana Juno, let us see whom be here. Wontumi wafa. Later, information surfaced that Wontumi has been hospitalized. So his lawyers, of course, pursued him to the hospital to check on him. Then the lawyers ne ko hoso mo kohwe say hospital na odano. Saying ena ne hono esi dodo no fa no say na ne omeko. Nti wo mo ko hospital mo ko and then they see wo. Take a listen to Wontumi's lawyers.
So we are still here looking for Chairman Wontumi because they don't know where the CID people took him when they said they rushed him to the hospital. They were his lawyer, his brother, that's Chairman Wontumi's brother, were in the black and white agents, and we are just going around to see where kept Chairman Wontumi. Stay tuned. Wontimi's brother standing here, and his lawyer coming is Chairman Wontumi's brother, and his lawyer is the one coming. We are still looking for Chairman Wontumi. We are here at the DNI hospital. We went to the military hospital like I told you earlier, 37, and we have still not found him. Yes. So that's it. We are leaving. Yes, so we are going back. We didn't find. So we are leaving here, and as you can see, we came here we couldn't find Chairman Wontumi, so we are leaving.
Great. But I kind of figure say by now they should be able to find where Wontumi is. Now, my main message was very, very instructive. Kwabena Acheampong said, I say, African politicians intentionally create poverty in order to control the masses. Kwabena, I tend to agree with you. So, Jumo Mudiani, Maka Semia Kaka say, Ghana ne si one. Me say, MPP in Kwabe team do 4 years it developing Ghana and NDC my vice versa the NDC. But they won't do it. They won't do that. One more a system whereby all of us will become subservient beggars for. We must always beg for something as if then that we are not entitled. No. And as soon as we vote them into power, then they become little gods over our heads. Now say no more guys are no maybe na chakaneno woman nam kromu brandishing here and there. Do you know me? Do you know who I am? And that's how Makasa Finsano. But in a few hours ago, Honorable Canadian Agyapong also tried to figure out the location of Wontumi. No so kwa no ohun bibia Wontumi wana. Canadian Agyapong so tisimu so kwa no. Say no so kwa no hu niam. Take a listen to him.
Honorable, waba you kwano pe waba e wa sanso aba uba yeni nkomo o se de
e say we dey now obi e kwa o say for the whole hospital into ye nya kwan e wo no ano pe ba no say time na pa into emra between 3 and 4 and more trip pe you do e ba so the whole hospital my friend, no pay hospital, no say for the chance, young Queno, oh baby, one of young, yes, and you decide this game. We are buying for my young say, or her last one, say time, this dinner is not. You should come between 3 and 4. And no, you be 2 years. You may do your swan, yes, I catch you say, you know,
oh, okay. Honorable, actually, one more actually Wontumi, lawyer and Yakubi. Actually, Wontumi, and you know, any MPP at the top will be a camera, I say, a buying by water, and would then, as one was within our come out.
Yo, minimum near Mecca. He said, minimum Intia, India, NDC, a data. Minimum, I be a maker, my disappointed here. MPP for Nyankasa. And then I read 2 videos. Alex Tete and the former chairman. You know, say Asem Basane party, the engineer one. Never na your personal problems are your work. A day better pointing a divided party. I am why because saying this be winning a unity. Your parliament. And maybe honorable to force and no court. NDC for no red. Now my boycott to parliament. Homo court to and son I don't know what has become of us. So we MPP ni power be obi pentino obi ehu basema ni jubility. Emwe sema corner anas see a money 18 million next so empire no kura na MPP form money thumbs up. Meanwhile, I defended MPP. What you say? And they won't tell us about Boakye party for Alex. Let me go for no answer. Because the match will be a fee. Say, "Nya oye na meka." And yet, you may be a poor party. Puma a pro-yembra party. Solidarity. And you know, so I am born so. Can you believe, sir? Obi Bisam said, Argentina, maybe anti-corruption crusader. Na honorable Kofi me dem die a command bail and say we guilty. What do you say? Until so be guilty no we entitled to bail or be Kofi any Asem. And the mesrom they were yania MPP for no internal politics no ye take party no to no and when you better opposition say and changes as man we na ya makuru ya ma ya nsua senia na NDC for ye e dey na chese auto forcing odi bem ana odi fo but so odi bim o so odi fo they rally behind him. What you say the mesre me anu party
great folks. So Honorable Kennedy Ohene Agyapong also echo we hu baby Wontumi, but of course we are learning tonight say Wontumi has been granted bail of 50 million, yes, sort of 50 million surety. Pending say yes, there's more things that Wontumi would be facing as far as the charges are concerned, folks. And you may be bringing a year follow up tonight at Nina Ebebro. Yes. So my memo tape in draw, I think before close of day, the committee, chaired by Justice Scott Pwamwan. Omukotna Mami Asem so. As of Enra, na this embattled Chief Justice Torkonu no file an interlocutory injunction say my crime committee in Transem so. Or citing may be brain, of course, citing at a point suggesting that yes, the committee, the bills of the committee and seeking to injunct the committee members ni bi near de koye nsem bebre no mane ade so no and then I just say the suspended Chief Justice Torkonu mounted this spirited pushback at the committee, citing abuse in removal process, seeking to halt the committee's probe and then so now and agree, as I've said already, with the politics of tonight we explore the pistol of Martin Alamisi Ben Kaiser Amidu on the suspended Chief Justice Torkonu. Now, Martin Amidu do some explosive bombs be good for man wording, but the move go through. But committee ni we proceedings, ma meaning some more de koinano, ye bonina tuguye. Take a listen to the suspended Chief Justice and then a husband making their way out of the committee premises. Watch this.
Hello. Yeah, the Supreme Court has just dismissed the application injunction filed by the suspended Chief Justice. You see Madam Torkonu walk out of court at the moment together with the husband and the lawyer. Godfrey, see if you can get a word from the Chief Justice, who is just about to board her car together with the police details, and the case having been dismissed by the court, she's just boarded the vehicle, and together with her husband. Hello. Yeah, the Supreme Court has just dismissed the application injunction filed by the suspended Chief Justice. You see Madam Torkonu walk out of court at the moment together with the husband and the lawyer. Godfrey, see if you can get a word from the Chief Justice, who is just about to board her car together with the police details, and the case having been dismissed by the court, she's just boarded the vehicle, and together with her husband.
Folks, so the Supreme Court hona Mami Freebay zone na committee no edio mudwuma na mane ade na just in fact I've been very sad the whole day this morning. They say Imre Meraho ama mami pa. But you see, yenhwe bibi ye wo wiase kakra na nipa momyemfa ye ho tutu ye ho fo. Hwe ebra mami no wo Chief Justice wom. Niema bebre kwaso a mami Gertrude Torkonu ankoyi. Hwe Africa fo ye subi ne ye ban bi asesi an ye twa na ye hwe you do me and I'll do you. Minim se mami no wo de ekono neni nye kura o. Woni ni kunu woma say ankonam bi no, but yempo mamene so was serving in the capacity as what the third person in command when it comes to this nation's your friends in democratic process. But sana mo se mo pese mo ye mo man no. Emmanuel Tewia or say God bless you watching from live from Techiman. Ima minim se ho ye pa Irajwa. I also watch. I say good evening, Kweku. Yes. Bibia come. Well, my executive producer Yamba just joined me. We are about to go into this episode, 6-page document, epistles of Martin, Alamisi, Ben Kaiser, Amidu, and a Troy. Nansembena or the Ebetuja. Y'all joins me shortly. Meaning Yababe go through. Then we'll give you a very crystal analysis of Martin epistles. Now what you're gonna what is it? We power to the people. Exactly, folks. Ahano ye antem no until each Ghanaian biano will have the power no. And no way money ete yes, intino 6-page. I'm going to read 3-page Yamba so be kind 3-page, and I'm sure say bi wasumnetie asama pape e de abeto or title, and it's going to be on the screen. Where you will make analysis of the whole thing. I say the respondents in a removal petition cannot waive the right to in camera proceedings, and also annulled the process by Martin ABK Amidu. And that screen is on it. Tiasma Martin Debao. Also, it is interesting to hear and read a former Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah Dame, also known as Telephone Man. Minim se Godfrey. Yeah, unim se Godfrey ni dini Telephone Man. Minim it. Martin Amidu. And yes, I get to. Hey, minim say Godfrey Dean back on Telephone Man. Anyway, yenti say saying disingenuously and with tongue in check that he opposes calls for proceedings relating to the removal of his client, Chief Justice Mrs. Gertrude Torkonu, to be held in camera on grounds of transparency due to the intense public scrutiny she has already endured as though proceedings for the removal of justices of the Superior Court under Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution can be held otherwise than in camera under the 1992 Constitution. In fact, Martin in this episode cited number of constitutional articles, of course, that make quite sense to, the argument. He goes on to say, the reader ought to be reminded before proceedings further with this discourse that Article 146, Clause 8 of the 1992 Constitution on the removal of justice of the Superior Court and chairman of regional tribunals, including the Chief Justice, unequivocally mandates that, quote, all proceedings under this article shall be held in camera, and the justice or chairman against whom the petition is made is entitled to be heard in his defense by herself or by a lawyer or other experts of his choice, unquote. Godfred Yeboah-Dame, aka Telephone Man, cannot, as a former Attorney General, be oblivious of the fact that the Supreme Court considered and decided on the meaning of scope of Article 146 Clause 8 of the Constitution in 3 previous cases, the last being the case of Derry versus Tiger IPI and others, in which the court stated as follows, quote, what is the true intent and purpose of these provisions? Is it limited in its terms? What is the extent of the limitation, if any? The true intent is not in dispute. It is to protect the integrity of the judiciary, the personnel reputation of the judge under investigation, and it is also aims at protecting potential witnesses from some form of recrimination. The reasons for confidentiality could be endless, but integrity of the administration of justice is at the center, unquote. Martin Twas will say, the Supreme Court concluded after considering the 2 previously decided cases as follows, quote, the rights of the people were merely postponed for a time lest the purpose of Article 146 Clause 8 should be defeated. We would emphasize that these clear constitutional provisions must be respected by the intent and purpose, are not to be rendered nugatory, which is to keep the proceedings private and confidential, unquote. It is unethical and dishonorable, therefore, to reframe the clear constitutional mandate on the hearing of proceedings for the removal of Superior Court justice to give the impression to unsuspecting public that someone or a group of persons are calling for the hearing of the petitions to remove the Chief Justice by the committee appointed by the President to inquire into the complaints in camera for political purpose, while hearing can permissibly be open to the public. The provisions of Article 146 Clause 8 are so clear and are unambiguous that the committee appointed under Clause 6 and 7 to inquire into the petitions and recommended to the President whether the Chief Justice ought to be removed from office would be violating its mandate to hold a public hearing in respect of any of the petitions pending before it. Consequently, the call for Godfred Dame, also known as Telephone Man, can only rationally be attributed to the continuing attempt to politicize or otherwise simply constitutional process. Otwas was it set in motion to determine whether or not the complaints contained in the petition seeking the removal of the Chief Justice from office can be vindicated or are unmeritorious. City News reported the grounds on which Godfred Dame argues for the constitutional provisions to be subverted by a public hearing as follows, quote, it cannot be a secret. There ought to be a light on the proceedings because she has already been damaged in the public domain, unquote. Dame stated, underscoring the importance of fairness and openness in the process. In one fell swoop, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, Telephone Man, is prepared to subvert the Constitution of Ghana to score political points and is wiser than the framers of the 3rd and 4th Republican Constitution. See Article 128 Clause 1 of the 1979 Constitution and Article 146 Clause 8 of the 1992 Constitution, already quoted supra in paragraph 2, respectively. The provisions of the 3rd Republican Constitution 1979, which was adopted verbatim by the 4th Republican Constitution 1992, departed from the provisions under Article 116 Clause 4 and 5 of the of the 2nd Republican Constitution 1969, where the mode of hearing was not strictly circumscribed and therefore open to debate. Or to us, say, the framers of the 3 Republican constitutions of Ghana had also made provisions for the removal of the president from office, which show that the framers of the constitution purposefully used the words, quote, the tribunal shall inquire in camera whether there is a prima facie case for the removal of the president, unquote, and quote, the proceedings in parliament for the removal of the president shall not be held in camera except parliament otherwise orders in the interests of national security, unquote. See Article 69 Clause 4 and 12 of the 4th Republican Constitution 1992 for the words quoted, and Article 56 Clause 4 and 12 of the 3rd Republican Constitution 1979 and Article 47 Clause 3 and 6b of the 2nd Republican Constitution for the words in pari materia as those of the 1992 Constitution. The injunction that proceedings under Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution must be held in camera was therefore purposefully and not an omission to be filed by judicial activism. I have been following and tracking closely the initiation of the process to remove the Chief Justice from office. I was definitely worried and displeased to have read a press release issued by the Minister for Government Communication on 25th March 2025 stating inter alia that, quote, President Mahama consults with the Council of State on 3 petitions to the Council of State to commence the consultative process by Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution, quote and unquote. I agree entirely with the repository by Mr. Sam Okudjato on Thursday 27 March 2025 when he stated on Joy FM's top story, quote, let me emphasize that this should not have been publicized when I was on the council. We felt it was wrong for a petition of this nature to be made public when submitted to the President and forwarded to the Council of State. It is only when the Council and the President concluded that a prima facie case has been made that publicity should follow. I think this is a wrong approach, unquote. Fortunately, the content of the petitions were not disclosed by the press statement of the Minister for Government Communications. But on the same day, Thursday, 27 March 2025, the New Patriotic Party's Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, Vincent Eko Asifwa, through his lawyers, Dame and partners, filed an action in the Supreme Court at 9:20 a.m. and according to the reportage of Joy FM, that the MP made this known on his social media platforms, sharing a copy of the writs filed at the Supreme Court. On Thursday, March 27, 2025, his suit follows the President's announcement made through the Minister of State in charge of Government Communications, Felix Kwakye Ofosu, and 3 petitions demanding the removal of Chief Justice Gertrude Torkonu would be referred to the Council of State for consultation, quote and unquote. Folks, 3-page in Amakan Yao will take over no so read 3-page in Yia na Yamao ye summary na fi de nyome eko yenim yeah, me continue from here, right? Okay, so me twas was say Godfred Dame is the immediate past Attorney General under whose watch Mrs. Gertrude Torkonu afi Martin Rizi serious issue ho tiha. Or say Godfred Dame is the immediate past Attorney General under whose watch Mrs. Gertrude Torkonu was proposed by the NPP government to the Judicial Council nominated by President Akufo-Addo, approved by Parliament and appointed as the Chief Justice by the president when I read the writ filed on behalf of Vincent Asefua by Dame and partners. I felt that a simple petition for the removal of the Chief Justice had taken a political turn by the involvement of Godfrey Dame, Yeboah Dame, the immediate past Attorney General. In the Afri, the rate was immediately followed with an application for an interlocutory injunction to stop the processes brought about by the petition for the removal of the Chief Justice. Godfrey Dame has every right, theoretically, to represent who he wishes after ending his tenure as Attorney General on 6 January 2025. But every previous Attorney General worth the name knows that public perceptions and opinions are particularly key factors to consider immediately upon leaving office into private life. When in 2001, the late Professor Kofi Awono came to see me in the company of the late Victor Salome to ask me to represent him in his pending criminal trial, I politely refused to do so for purely strategic, tactical reasons of my representation as a lawyer in his criminal case not having an influence on the public perception of his case as involving the NDC government. I had met Victor Salome at the VVIP Lodge as his lawyer on the instruction of President Rawlings when he arrived from the United Kingdom on a British Airways flight and was arrested by the Bureau of National Investigations, BNI. Victor Smith initiated the call to me to speak to former President Rawlings. That was when I earned the name Shadow Vice President. For those who remember the incident, I appreciated he wanted me to continue to represent him in court. I did not think doing so as the immediate past Deputy Attorney General and running mate to the NDC presidential candidate for the 2000 elections would serve his best interest and the government. We both served, but Godfrey Dame was not directly representing the Chief Justice, but Vincent Asefua, the NPP Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, and the public may well understand that this was not a conclusive suit with the Chief Justice lacking on scene in the background. On the same day, 27 March 2025, the Chief Justice, Mrs. Torkonu, was also reported on Joy FM as requesting a fair opportunity to respond to the allegations against her before further steps are taken, stating inter alia, quote, I am by this letter humbly and respectfully asking His Excellency the President and eminent members of Council of State to forward the petitions against me to me and allow me at least 7 days after receipt of same to provide my response to you, which response can then form part of the material that you conduct and consultations anticipated under Article 146 Clause 6 before possible setting up of a committee of inquiry under Article 147. Folks, this is quite pretty fascinating development. Yeah, what do you make of Martin Yakin Kanwe shortly before you go on yours?
He's raised a lot of issues pertaining to regarding the Chief Justice.
Yeah.
And he is of the view that the former Attorney General, Kofi Dame, should have declined the opportunity to represent the Chief Justice. And he's also of the view that those who are calling for the petition to be held in public.
And also, I debatable, yeah.
Yes. So he is coming from the pure background of a lawyer, somebody that has understanding or appreciates the law. And you know, Martin Amidi is somebody that when he
Martin, me papa.
Yeah, he's somebody, you all know him, that he's a very principled man.
Yeah.
When he has an opinion on something, he's not shy or he's not scared to talk about it. So he believes that whoever is pursuing that kind of argument is doing so, or he's going against the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. But for him, he believes that the Constitution states categorically that such petitions must be held in camera, not in public.
Yeah.
So he believes that the Attorney General should know better.
Yeah.
And the former Attorney General.
Great. I think I tend to agree with you in all that. In some Martin Ekanina, baby, odi a free back cram de can yaw, de no chesem. Or say, O she baby, mammy a free bar, or peso yen adrian say. Asem no, yenfa enye de embra bedroom no. Martinami disuno. Martinami du Corso cite several articles, the constitutional articles, including the 1979 laws nimra a war mining bebre. Was citing now as in case study say the battle chief justice ne press a family bedroom yenyanesa. Afi was raise another serious is the just gone past Attorney General Godfred Yeboah Dami. As I say, no, odi mamia semwamano. No, akria so ejina nipa ba kon no so edi petition call say no. Omo hwe mama na asem ye ni ni sana friends a member of parliament for friends Otafo Vincent Asefo no. Na wo hwe bebia Godfred Dami jina on the side of the chief justice no and battle chief justice and any member of parliament here. You bet me aside him say there's a conflict of interest here. Now on Hona Martin Ichiremu say no. Ma minu so pre say ye ni asem no e wo bedwam no enye ono na breast na ebedi asem wo bedwam. Okanya be see say impo ye constitution na emra no aye de ato say so man pani ye bonity o man no a parliament e wo ho kwan say ye impeach president eno ne impeachment process na eno mpo no so no ye wo kwan ye fa so a ye di impeach president ni yini firi wo so de be nti na maame no chenchi no person nasem ye de be anything bedroom folks maybe be expanding more but then I cut 3 pages say executive producer edit twice my yeah take it out from here.
Unfortunately, and for reasons best known to the chief justice, she chose to copy her letter to several addresses, including specifically a former Chief Justice, Sophia Ekufu, serving on the Council of State. Even though the Council of State as a body was copied through its chairman and the Ghana Bar Association, who would coincidentally or on the prompt later speak in her defense. The content of her letter was given wide publicity in the media. I thought she had shot herself in the foot, both strategically and tactically, and I was vindicated when her request addressed to the president was acceded to, and in a way undercutting whatever capital she would have gained by keeping quiet and watching how the next steps would pan out. On 21 May 2025, on the 21st of May 2025, the Supreme Court heard and delivered its decision in 2 separate cases: Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral Systems versus the Attorney General. 2, Her Ladyship, Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Saki Torkonu, and 3, His Lordship Justice Gabriel Scott Huaman, a Justice of the Supreme Court and the Chairman of the Presidential Investigative Committee established by the President, and Theodore Kofi Atakorte versus Attorney General, brought by citizens of Ghana challenging the removal processes commenced against the Chief Justice. The court dismissed each action or application. The 2 actions were supposed to have been brought by independent citizens of Ghana vindicating their constitutional rights under Article 2 and 130 of the 1992 Constitution. However, Ghana Web reported on the same day, 21 May 2025, after the proceedings at the Supreme Court that, quote, GH1 TV captured Francis Kofi Torkonu, who is the immediate past Chief executive officer, CEO of the Narcotic Control Board, NACOB, leaving the court, which was shared on X on Wednesday. The media house captioned the video, quote, CJ Torkonu's husband and legal team leaving Supreme Court following dismissal of an application for interlocutory injunction aimed at halting hearing of 3 petitions against the Chief Justice, unquote. Maybe the public would understand that Francis Kofi Torkonu's presence at the court premises was luckless coincidence, to use the words of someone who shares the same evangelical pastor or spiritual mentor with the Chief Justice.
Hey.
On the same day, 21 May 2025, Godfred Yeboah-Dame filed in the registry of the Supreme Court at 3 p.m. the writ in the case of Gertrude Torkonu versus the Attorney General and 6 others, and an accompanying application for interim injunction against all the 5 members of the committee appointed to inquire into the complaints contained in the petitions against the Chief Justice. The timing of the commencement of Gertrude Torkonu's action may also be a luckless coincidence in the public's perception.
Wow.
And maybe the public will rationally not make any connection or meaning between the president who appointed both the Chief Justice and the former Attorney General to this strategic and tactical move in the Chief Justice filing her action in court using the services of the immediate past Attorney General. The decision and conduct in the timing of the action in the court by the Chief Justice constitute non-verbal communication and sends out a message which the public as recipients are entitled to make meaning out of, which may or may not be helpful for the cause being pursued or advocated using lawfare. It may or may not be a coded call to all appointing president's appointees to rally around the respondent. It may or may not have prompted the references to some of the judges appointed by the President Akufo-Addo as NDC judges thereafter. The communicator is responsible for the meaning significant others make of these messages. Simple theory of communication studies. But let me hasten to say that when one looks at the public service and experience between the Chief Justice, who was enrolled as a lawyer with number 2110 on 2nd February 1987, and the former Attorney General enrolled on the same roll of lawyers with the number 3558 on 3rd October 2003, any strategic and tactical credit or misjudgment in the timing and conduct of the suit must lie primarily at the feet of the supposedly more experienced Chief Justice, who is still the head of the judiciary in Ghana. Discretion is the better part of valor. I believe it was the fact that Godfred Yeboah-Dame exercised his acclaimed theoretical right as a lawyer to represent whom he may after leaving the office that generated public comments, necessitating his having to grant the interview to City News Hansen Agyapong on 22nd May 2025, in which he asserted, inter alia, that the hearing by the committee appointed by the president to inquire into the complaints against his client, the Chief Justice, cannot be in secret. It cannot be a secret. Quote, it cannot be a secret. There ought to be light on the proceeding because she has already been damaged in the public domain. Unquote. He was also reported to have said, quote, on the contrary, the conduct of the government so far, together with what has been witnessed in the whole of proceedings, will rather require that it ought to be in the public. Unquote. The writ which the Chief Justice caused Godfred Dame to file on her behalf on 21st May 2025 seek to vindicate his assertions in the Supreme Court and to invalidate the whole processes leading to the appointment of the committee and to disqualify all the members of the committee from proceeding with their constitutional duty to hear the complaints of the petitioners who initiated the petitions under Article 146 of the Constitution. Chief Justice Gertrude Torkonu and her lawyer have an uphill task in view of the binding decision of the Supreme Court in Ghana Bar Association versus Attorney General, Agyapong versus Attorney General, and Derry versus Attorney General. The Supreme Court in Derry versus Attorney General, which reconciled the previous two cases, decided that the annulment of the petition is not a remedy available to a respondent to petition, and concluded as follows, quote, from the moment the president accepts the petition, the process of impeachment has commenced, and the process cannot be truncated except in terms as clearly expressed in Article 146.
I see.
And there are only two situations in which this can occur. Firstly, where the Chief Justice decides that there is no prima facie case under Clause 3. And secondly, after the committee set up to investigate the complaint has submitted its report. Apart from these two modes of terminating proceedings commenced under Article 146, which are expressly provided for, it is impossible to import any other mode into the article to truncate the process, unquote. The court emphatically concluded that, and I quote, finally, the attempt to abort the proceedings also brings it in conflict with the provisions of Article 126 Clause 4, 128 Clause 4, 136 Clause 3, and 139 Clause 4 of the Constitution, which requires that only persons of higher moral character and proven integrity shall be appointed to the various branches of the Superior Court, Superior Court bench. Read side by side with Article 146 Clause 1, which requires inter alia that when a judge is alleged to have fallen short of qualities for which he was appointed, he should be investigated.
Yeah.
It is also a matter of public policy that allegations of misconduct or misbehavior against a public official, including a judge, should not be swept under the carpet. Indeed, the very integrity of the judiciary is at stake if such allegations are unexamined and found to be false, unquote. Despite the decision of the Supreme Court in the Derry case, many unscrupulous persons have for political and selfish reasons made it their forte to leak unauthenticated contents of the petitions allegedly submitted to the president for the removal of the Chief Justice in the name of freedom of speech, contrary to prohibitions by the Constitution. Indeed, the responses of the Chief Justice to the petitions also found their way into the media. The law provides a remedy to the committee as well as the party affected by an unconstitutional disclosure for bringing such unscrupulous citizens and media to book without aborting the removal processes initiated by the petitioners. See Derry versus the Attorney General. The Chief Justice and the immediate past Attorney General have filed a motion at the Supreme Court seeking an interlocutory injunction to halt the proceedings of the committee investigating the petitions for her removal. The statement of the plaintiff's case was not filed on the 21st of May 2025. It is difficult to conjecture how it supports the writ and the interim application, but every vigilant citizen knows that the Supreme Court rendered two decisions on 21st May 2025, which ruled against injuncting the committee. Maybe the writ and particularly the statement of the plaintiff's case, when filed and made public, will be weighty enough to support the application for interlocutory injunction filed by the sitting Chief Justice as plaintiff to convince the court to overrule itself. Grant the application for interim injunction and ultimately depart from its previous decision to abort the pending petitions. We are in uncharted waters, and all eyes must be on the Supreme Court. Every patriotic citizen has an obligation to defend the 1992 Constitution without considerations of any other form of loyalty to substructures existing and enabled by the Constitution. The patriotic citizen's utmost fidelity is to the Republic of Ghana as established by the Constitution. The judiciary is the least dangerous branch, and the citizens hope for freedom and justice. Consequently, we must channel our efforts to defend Article 146 of the Constitution and produce cogent evidence when we allege it is being subverted by any person or group of persons. In the absence of any concrete evidence of impropriety on the part of the petitioners, the public has a vested interest in knowing the outcome of the removal processes begun by the petition submitted to the President. Caesar's wife must be above suspicion. This is the only rational way to protect and defend the judiciary and administration of justice under a regime of laws and not of men demanded by the 1992 Constitution. Martin A.B.K. Amidu, 25th May 2025.
Great one, folks. Great one piece. Of course, we, Martin Alamisi Ben Kaiser Amidu, the article, a 6-page epistle or the abattoir for this very embattled Chief Justice. Now, I tell you what, folks, this issue seems as though it isn't going to go, off anytime soon. And what we are hearing in Kranum, and then not just a warship. Na akwen who be brave just gone past na Abu Boston folks. Thank you very much, sir. Ode enyomegu has a mamenhwe